Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be exploring something pretty wild. We're talking about impossible languages. You know how babies just like soak up language? Well, it turns out it's actually more complex than we thought. It's not just about learning words, it's about learning rules. And some rules just never appear in any human language. We're talking about languages that break the rules that real languages follow, languages so strange they're almost impossible to learn. And get this, researchers are using AI to try and figure out why these languages are so tricky, even for machines. It's like, you know that famous linguist, Noam Chomsky? He had this theory about a universal grammar, sort of like a blueprint in our brains that makes language learning possible. Basically, he thought that we're born with certain rules hardwired in, and anything that breaks those rules is, well, impossible for us to understand. But now we've got AI that can write poems, translate languages, even hold conversations. And these AI models, they weren't built with Chomsky's theory in mind. They learned by crunching tons and tons of data and finding patterns. So researchers started to wonder, could AI learn these impossible languages that seem to defy our brain's wiring? If so, what would that tell us about how we learn? Early experiments were pretty surprising. AI actually did a decent job with some of these impossible languages. It seemed like maybe Chomsky's theory wasn't the whole story. But hold on, because the story gets even more interesting. Researchers decided to, kind of up the ante. They created even more complex impossible languages and used even more advanced AI. And this time, the results were totally different. The AI hit a wall. Certain impossible rules, even though they were logically sound, completely stumped the AI. It just couldn't make sense of them, no matter how hard it tried. So this is where it gets really mind-blowing. If superpowered AI struggles with these languages, does that mean there's something special about the way our brains are wired, something that allows us to handle complexities that even the most advanced AI can't quite grasp? We're going to dive into what those complexities might be and what they reveal about the human mind. So one of the big things that researchers discovered is this idea of information locality. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Think about like reading a sentence. In most languages, related words, they tend to be close to each other. The subject is near the verb, the adjective is next to the noun it describes, and so on. It just makes a sentence easy to follow. But in these impossible languages, researchers messed with that closeness. They created rules where, like, important words were scattered all over the place, or where the meaning of a word depended on something way far away in the sentence, and it totally threw the AI off. It's like trying to, I don't know, assemble a piece of furniture where the instructions are all jumbled up. You might eventually figure it out, but it takes a lot more effort. Our brains seem to be wired for this information locality thing. We expect things to be grouped together logically, and when they're not, it makes our brains work a lot harder. And apparently AI too, it's like expecting to find your keys in the fridge. It just throws everything off. But information locality is just one piece of the puzzle. Researchers also found that the complexity of the rules themselves played a big role. Some impossible languages had like simple rules, like just reversing the order of words in a sentence. AI could handle that pretty well. But other languages had these like crazy intricate rules, like changing the meaning of a word based on a symbol 5 words later. These languages were like mental gymnastics for the AI. It just couldn't keep up. So what does this all tell us? It seems like our brains might have a limit on how much complexity they can handle at once. And maybe AI has a similar limit, but it's a different limit than ours. It's almost like we're comparing the strength of a weightlifter to a marathon runner. Both are strong, but in different ways. And this raises some really big questions, like does struggling with these impossible languages mean that AI is inherently less capable than the human brain when it comes to language? Or does it simply mean we haven't figured out the right way to design AI yet? Maybe there's a secret ingredient missing, something that will allow AI to unlock these impossible languages, and maybe even surpass our own abilities. It's like we've hit this fascinating crossroads where language, AI, and the very nature of intelligence are all intertwined. It's like we've stumbled onto this hidden doorway in the world of language. And what we find on the other side, well, it could change everything. Think about it. Just 100 years ago, the idea of a machine understanding human language, that was pure science fiction. And now look at us. We're talking to our phones, we're dictating emails, even having virtual assistants write entire blog posts for us. So what if these impossible languages, the ones that seem so bizarre and unlearnable today, are actually the key? Like the key to unlocking even more incredible advancements in AI. What if they hold the secrets to creating AI that can not only understand us perfectly, but can also help us understand ourselves better? This whole idea of impossible languages, it's like a giant mirror. It's reflecting back on how we learn and how our brains work. It's making us ask some pretty big questions about, the nature of language and the very essence of human intelligence. Are there limits to what we can understand? Can we push past those limits? Maybe with the help of AI. And what amazing discoveries are waiting for us on the other side? These are questions that researchers are just beginning to explore. And the answers, well, they could have huge implications for the future of AI, language, and maybe even humanity itself. It's a journey into the unknown, a deep dive into the impossible, and it's just getting started. Thanks for joining us.